one of my fondest, most enduring memories of that side of Alien Isolation was the fact that there were so many like proper theatre actors, and I was sitting next to, and I remember, and the first time I saw you go into Samuel's mode, it was like some sort of amazing magic trick, and you like it felt like almost uncanny.
Do you know? And I haven't got the best memory for certain things, and that has really stayed with me. Yes. Especially, I think, in a motion capture set when you haven't got everything. Everybody needs to be completely 100% in it, and playing their intentions and everything. And I just had a real thrill that day, and I can see the set now. I can see where Ant's standing, which doesn't. I couldn't say that about a lot of things. So that's got to mean something, hasn't it?
Yeah, we all have a shared feeling of pride, real big pride, because there was moments when you thought, is this going to work? And even when we released, not all the reviews liked it. But you knew you'd made something good. But then it was only after a couple of years, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, people actually aren't stopping talking about this. And you realise it is something of a cult classic.
Hey guys, welcome to the ReadyAimFire podcast. Today we have a special episode for you with some people you might recognise from Alien Isolation. The amazing Will Porter.
Hello.
We have the amazing Anthony Howell.
Hello. This one. Hi. Hello. Typical actor. No idea.
So how long has it been since you three have all been in a room together?
Oh, well, Will tried to get us all together for your incredible 10th anniversary Alien Isolation.
Yeah, we did like an unofficial meetup of a lot of people that had been involved in Alien Isolation last July it was, and it's 10 years. It would have been 10 years in October. So it was just it was an unofficial thing in the pub, but quite a few people came along, and it was good fun. So yeah. But then, do you know what? Have I ever actually been in the same room as both of you? Because everyone recorded separately, right? And I didn't do any of the mocap sessions.
And were you at the table read? We had a table read for this, didn't we? Back in the day.
We did, but I can't remember if I was at one with both of you were at. 'Cause I didn't attend all of them.
Okay.
But
we've been in a room.
We've been in many rooms together. But I don't think I've been in a room with you for
10 years.
For 10 years.
No, 11. It presumably 11 years, because it would have been. Yes. We had you living in a tin can for a little while after the recording. So.
Yeah, you've not changed.
Oh, thank you.
So this could be a first. Us three properly being in a room together. Yeah. No virtual room, just here.
An Alien Isolation reunion.
Yay, nice, mini.
Mini reunion, okay. So where were you guys when you first found out that you were going to be involved in Alien Isolation? So obviously you'd been through the casting process and that kind of stuff, but where was it? What were you doing? How did you feel when you're like, I'm going to be part of this huge story franchise?
I can remember my audition at Side, and it was the dialogue about proprietary information, Sevastopol, all that kind of stuff. I can't remember where I was.
You'd already been doing quite a few games to this point, so even though it was exciting, I suppose you'd kind of been in the world for quite a while.
Yeah, no, I think I'd only done one game before that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I think I'd just done, there was a game called Castlevania, Lords of Shadows, that I did the mocap on. Again, with Kate Saxon, the director. And so I think this was my second or maybe third game.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel more pressure because it's part of a beloved franchise, and especially it's not like one of the sequel films, it's going back to the core story of Ripley's family?
Yeah, not so much pressure, because I think the team and the other actors, we were all, it was a lovely gang, it was a really friendly environment. But the thrill of being part of that franchise was definitely there, because it's iconic. It's a huge thing. Yeah, it was more excitement, I think, than nerves.
Games, I just remember games at that time were obviously respected within gamers, and gamers really enjoyed them. But as actors, it wasn't part of our training yet. It wasn't part of anything. So I remember exactly the same feeling, super excited, but kind of not knowing, luckily, kind of a bit ignorant really of the scale of it. You're like, yes, I'm an alien. Love the films kind of thing. And looking back now in hindsight, it was like, crikey. I think if I knew what I know now, it would have been slightly different going into it.
Yes, yeah. I think because it was also quite early days for big games in the UK. You know, I know they've been happening in the States for a while, but it wasn't. I don't, like you, I didn't expect it to be as, you know, as huge as it is. It was just lovely to be part of that franchise, which happens often in games. Games as you know, IP gets put into games, and you're part of something that you would never dream of being part of as an actor in a film or in a TV or whatever. To play certain roles in a game is pretty mind blowing. It's great.
What about you, Will? How did you come to be involved with the game?
Well, I originally used to be a video game journalist, so I used to write for a magazine called PC Zone. But at one point, I kind of like just got the itch to kind of become what I was writing about, I suppose. And so like I kind of like was still doing some previews and reviews, but like then I started writing on Need for Speed games, which was all it wasn't very narrative. It's more about, you know, press this button to go fast. You know, like, well done, you've won the race, kind of stuff. So I did that on the Need for Speed Shift 2, and so I had that experience of working with a big publisher and developer in EA. At the same time, I was doing an indie game, and it's the indie game I still work on today. I'm the creative director on a game called Project Zomboid.
Big fan of Project Zomboid.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. It's surprisingly
I'm really
rare.
bad at it.
Surprisingly rare you meet like a fan in the wild, to be honest with you. Like, you know, even though it's very popular. Yeah, even though it's very popular, like it's just, you know, we occupy in, you know, it's a big niche, but it's still a niche in a way. So it's cool to have, and playing on a Steam Deck, no less. I'm
doing it on. I would say I'm doing it on hard mode. I think I'm just used to this.
See, this is my role here as the non-gamer. Is like, please tell us more about what is this game?
It's like an isometric zombie survival game. We've been making it for best part of 10 years at this point, and we released a version 2 or 3 years ago called Bill 41, and it kind of really took off. Lots of streamers really liked it. There's like a good multiplayer aspect to it, and so yeah, we're currently like working on updates to that.
One of the things it does that's really, really cool is it was years ago when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, they did a GIF about how games load what can be seen. So obviously, when, you know, in a 3D world, they're not just everything's loaded all the time, because they wouldn't have enough memory in your console on your PC. So there's like a cone of, you know, safety, and then a cone of what you're seeing in POV, and that's that's a feature of Zomboid, isn't it? There's like a small window behind you, which is your auditory senses, and then you have a cone of what you can see. So if you're not looking at a zombie and there's a zombie behind you, you don't see them.
That's a bit Alien Isolation.
It is very similar.
Some DNA,
Okay.
And there's like I'm explaining your own game to you, which is painful, but
I need that sometimes.
there's like what would you call it, like attributes and disadvantages. I can't remember the exact names for them.
Traits.
And I always choose to be deaf.
Yeah.
Because I can do without hearing like the glass breaking, but you get 12 points to spend on something else, like being less hungry or needing less water.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I've seen lots of things where people like run into a house and go upstairs, loot, and then come downstairs, but their character's deaf, so they didn't hear the window smash. Yeah. And they notice there's glass on the floor, and they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. That's a quite common bug report, actually. Like, is like, why can't I hear anything?
Yeah.
And they're like, we was like, did you select the deaf trait?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I did. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Oh wow, sounds like really makes you think.
Yeah, so we just released like a tech demo kind of thing. It was like a bit more like had a bit of narrative in there about a guy, Bob, who's looking after his injured wife, and I had a few friends that worked at Creative Assembly, and they put that tech demo in front of Al Hope, who's like the creative director, creative lead on Alien Isolation, and indeed on the sequel that's been announced. And yeah, he's really into his indie games, and he liked it. They needed some overflow writing done. I turned up and did some overflow writing and never really went home. So like, just became part of the furniture for a year and a half, and learned a lot. Learned a lot of stuff, and had a good time. Had some challenging times, and end of the day, but made some really good friends. And and here we are. 10 years later, and yes, I'm still dining out on it. So.
What's overflow writing? It's probably
just
what it says in the tin.
I think you guys were all off doing mocap. and you were all being, you were all sitting in these rigs being shaken around, pretending you're on spaceships when having fun. But basically, the level designers needed some words to work with, basically. So while you guys were off doing your acting lark, I was sat at home, kind of doing the writing for the gameplay.
Right. There we go. It always works in so many different ways. It's interesting to know that was kind of going alongside.
Yeah. It's it's like anything, you have to make sure that everything's being fed with the narrative. I think they just basically one of the other writers who's not here today, he he was needed for you guys, and so I was called it. So,
I see. Yeah. Gosh.
When you were writing, like, how much did you know about the features in the game? Like, did you know, for example, about the AI system? For those of you who don't know, Alien, I believe I'm right in saying Alien Isolation has a unique AI system where most of the time the alien doesn't know where you are, but every now and again it knows exactly where you are, and it's completely random. So that's why it always feels like you're being stalked, because you literally are being stalked. Did you know about that when you were writing it, and did it feature at all?
I mean, yes, you do. You do know about it. You do know what's coming in. You do know what the plans are, but it's relatively not random, because it's all planned, but like the moments at which in the game development, when different features come in, different features get changed, different levels might be cut, new levels might arrive, one level might turn into something else. Those are just all very normal things that happen during game development. Like, plans don't necessarily change, but they do adapt, and as a writer you have to adapt with it. So I'd say that basically a lot of my job is kind of like, you write something, but then you continually update it and change it and rethink it to like make it fit what's there. And obviously there comes a point where there's a recording deadline, and then there's a localization deadline, and everything just, it's like, stop. That's what's that. There's no change. Basically, that's what's going in, and anything that's wrong is going to be a bug. But but yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. You do know what's coming down. You have to work around it on a day-to-day basis, because obviously there's huge lumps of time in a big studio game where stuff isn't particularly playable. You might just, every time you go into a certain room on Alien, you just used to fall out of the bottom of Sevastopol because that floor didn't have any, just stuff like that. That's just like
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and but
quite a unique writer's job then. To be dealt that you have to be so intuitive and quick thinking to add new bits of story. In my kind of head, writers usually are there from beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
And it's pretty straightforward. But this with games, I guess it can be this kind of way where you've got to create as you go and make changes.
I think the way to do it is you have to think on lots of different levels. On Sevastopol, you kind of are telling, and I'm talking more about the world building aspect here rather than like the Amanda Ripley says this and Samuel says that kind of thing. But like on the actual like world building level, you have to like think about Sevastopol, like why a certain area was built, and then you have to think about what happened in that area when Sevastopol was going to pot, and then you have to think, well, then what happened like when the alien showed up, and so not only are you having to think about the art department are thinking about that, and then I'm thinking about that in terms of the audio logs that you're picking up and the names of the rooms, and so basically you have to like have this, like me and Dion had this timeline of events, and we had to work out when we'd show our hand basically in each of those areas. So, but as long as you've kind of got that locked tight, when the development does change or bend or whatever, you always have like a template to go back to. So you're never making up anything from scratch. Right. You're just adjusting, and like and that's just the way it works, really. Like and I've worked on various different games now. Like the same one I worked on, Mafia Definitive Edition, which is like a redo over of like the very famous, well thought of game from 1999 probably. We did like a new version of that, and I had a very similar role on that, filling out the lore and the characters and what happened here and what happened there. It's a really interesting, exciting thing to do. It's quite sometimes quite frustrating as well, though.
Well, I remember at the very beginning when we had that table read near Kentish Town. It was, and I don't know if you remember that.
It was, yeah.
And there was, I'm sure you were there, or there was a few writers there anyway, and this would have been at the very beginning before, this was rehearsals actually, so it was before we were filming anything.
What year is this roughly?
2012, was it 2012?
So that would have been slightly before I started.
Oh, okay. And I just remember the script being fantastic. And it was such a gift because, like you say, of course, they change as you go along with the game. Of course they do. So we kind of had this amazing full script that, you know, things got tweaked, etc. But for an actor's point of view, it was great because we got to kind of read it all in, which I personally have had that maybe 2 or 3 times, a table read for a game. So...
Yeah, very rare.
Very rare. 2012 as well. So it was brilliant. So we kind of got this overview of everything and worked through every scene, and then things changed as we went along. So it was brilliant to have that at the very beginning.
So that would have been all written by the great Dan Abnett, who was like
Dan.
He was fantastic. Probably one of the best writers I've ever worked. I'd say worked for at that stage, because he's just this wealth of knowledge, and you know, whenever he smiled on something that I'd done, you're like, yes.
Is that the Dan Abnett who writes for Warhammer quite a lot?
He does lots of Warhammer stuff and lots of other like video gamey things too over the years. So yeah.
And what was the influence behind your portrayal of Samuels? Like, was it, I think there's the obvious ones like Lance Henriksen and all the other androids and synthetics that are in the movies, but was there anything else you brought to that character where you felt you needed to?
I mean, the first port of call was the script, and as Kez said, it was brilliantly written. So there was so much in there in terms of the relationship, and it was nice to play a good android, not a bad android. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nice so that he did have her best interest at heart, and to play that relationship. And so it wasn't really playing the android. It was playing the relationship, or playing the scene, or you know, investing in that.
So you're playing the relationship, but you just know you have these certain parameters around how you emote and things like that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm quite low key as it is anyway, which is probably why I got the part, having watched my audition a couple of times. Yeah, I think obviously, you know, there is not a lack of humanity in the way he, you know, behaves and talks, but it's almost like a distillation of what is essential. So, you know, he does express himself at times, and there are moments, certainly at the end of the game, where he's at the, you know, breaking point, that he does get not emotional, but it sounds like it's emotional.
Oh, I always remember that scene that we did. Actually, is at the beginning of the game when she's welding, you know, and he comes to say, you know, your mum, you need to come and see this. It will give you peace, or however he said it.
Yes.
And I remember, because he's advanced AI as well, isn't he? And I remember the humanity in that scene, and it's come up in other conversations as well. Because obviously, I don't think Amanda in that scene speaks very much, actually. She's kind of listening, and you're convincing. And it was just beautiful and so lovely to be in a scene with you and do that, because it was exactly what you're talking about, that playing it, the high stakes or what have you, and the humanity of it.
Yes.
And it worked so well, I thought, for Samuels to his objective, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Kate was because that was the scene I auditioned for outside, and Kate was in the audition, and you know, she's brilliant. She gave the notes to bring that scene to life. I think
How often had you and Kate? You said you worked on your first game with her as well. Is that right?
Yes, I've worked with Kate a few times. The first time I worked with her was in theatre.
Right.
And then I did Castlevania Lords of Shadows with her, and a few other friendly faces like Mark Healy and Neil Newborn, and, you know, etc. You know, the guys that we see all the time. So yes, Kate and I worked together on that.
And I've always wanted to ask her this as well, the theatre background, because obviously she'd done games for a long time, but had an incredible history in theatre, as well as screen now and everything. Yes. But I wonder how much of that was her working with actors that she could, because I remember the process on Alien Isolation was great, because we had time, we had music to listen to during scenes or something, didn't we? And we had noises, and she made it as all the great things that translate so well from theatre into, I always remember that project, because obviously she's an actor's director, and she kind of gave us all the stuff that felt very theatre, rehearsals for theatre and getting into the characters that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's a fantastic director. And I think because she did come through theatre and knows, because when you're in a volume, it's, you know, it is a stage, it's a stage of sorts. But I think, you know, being a theatre director and dealing with, you know, great text, as she has done, and bringing to life big characters or characters in the plays. She just had that instinct for actors and to get what she wanted or what was required out of actors beautifully.
There was quite a lot of actors actually in Alien. There was a nice core team of us, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And that thing again of being able to manage actors and be intuitive and know where people are at and what they might need.
Yes.
Because I probably within my little Amanda stuff needed, where are we now? What are we, I mean, and that's a big thing in games, isn't it? Where are we? What are we doing? I think we were quite lucky she was very good at getting us where she could for us to do it chronologically and for it all to be as helpful as possible. But obviously sometimes that's impossible. Yeah. And they just need such knowledge and a way of explaining that to us.
That was lovely, because coming to game acting from acting, from stage or screen, to have that shorthand with a director and have that familiarity of how she works when you're on, when you're in the volume, was great, because she got what she wanted from the scene.
Do you remember that epic scene we did on the ropes, and we were weighted down with some weights to when we were, and then it broke, the scene.
The spacewalk that goes wrong.
The spacewalk that goes wrong. There we go. I was thinking of these scenes, the big theatrical scenes within that piece actually were great to have somebody with that experience behind them, weren't they? Because I remember that felt quite rightly quite theatrical because of how high the stakes were or what have you, and just the epicness of being, and that I thought that was really helpful for me anyway to work through it and rehearse through it, and how would they do this, and let's have the options, and we've got room to play here. That was great.
That's actually like one of my fondest, most enduring memories of that side of Alien Isolation was the fact that there were so many like proper theatre actors, and I was sitting next to, and I remember, and the first time I saw you go into Samuel's mode, and like I think a lot of people say this about writing as well, and then I definitely say about acting. It's like anyone can do it. You're just pretending to be someone else. It's easy, but when that was the first time, because I'd never really worked with actors properly before. But that first time when you became Samuel's, it was like some sort of amazing magic trick, and it felt like almost uncanny. And I felt I sit there, and all these people were like coming through. There was a guy. Now I hope I've got his name right. I think he's called Michael Maloney. He was like a fabulous character actor, and I first saw him in Love and a Branch Line in in I don't know 94, 95. I was a kid, but even then I was like, wow, this is what a guy. And and he's been in loads of great period dramas. His IMDb is just. And he was there. He was just recording lines for the Synthetics.
Yes,
and just immaculately done. And I was just like, what an amazing privilege to see these people that are treading the boards at the RSC, and they're reading my rubbish. do you know what I mean? It's
clearly just, not rubbish.
Well, still though, it was really good. And being a nerd as well, it meant a lot that Matt McDonald, who's Captain Hollister in Red Dwarf, he was someone Porter, because Porter's my surname, but he was
Porter.
Chief Porter, yeah. So I didn't cast him. That was Dion got that. It was a special treat for me, I think. But that was great. Being able to meet him and talk to him, and I got to be a bit of a Red Dwarf nerd at him, and he didn't know what I was talking about, because for him that's just one job he did 20 years ago. But but no, it's great. It was really, really good, really, really amazing experience that I learned a lot at.
Because Chief Porter is obviously in honor of you, do you have an idea of his backstory, and did you sit and give him some headcanon idea of
he's just very annoyed that his space station is falling apart,
right.
And even more annoyed that he's about to get killed by an alien.
Annoyed is one emotion you could pick.
Yeah,
sure.
he does. I think I'm right in saying he does. You get a big gun at some point to kill the synthetics with, and I think he's something to do with that. I think his body's found close to that or something.
So he went out fighting.
So he doesn't. He just dies, but then he gives you the gun. He provides the gun so Amanda can go out fighting.
Okay, nice.
Fair play. Hero.
Yeah.
Just to go back to what you said about Ant then, and I did joke to Ant that I would say this, but he is the king of games and acting, in my opinion, and in lots of people's opinions. And I just wanted to say a really quick anecdote, because it's a kind of crossover with John McKellen, who also worked on Alien Isolation.
Yes.
And then we all then went on to work on his observation game.
Yeah.
And John is a massive fan of Ant, like we all are. And sometimes it comes across as like, you know, playing this robot, because you play Sam in that, who's also a AI? AI.
Yeah.
And it is not easy to do what Ant does, and he makes it look so easy. And John would say, maybe it was the same for Alien Isolation, but for observation, certainly, he was just one takes. Ant just does one take. And every time I was like, yes, he's got it. Just didn't need to do it, unless you want to. Like, he was just, yes, that's the biggest compliment.
Yeah, that's very nice to
get
hear.
that on record.
I wanted to ask, this is a question for all three of you, really. How does it feel to have worked on a project that, one, we are talking about 10 years later, and two, has clearly impacted the franchise as a whole? Like, I remember when, there's clear evidence in Alien Covenant, for those of you who haven't seen it, watch it, of Isolation's influence. And I remember when they were releasing teaser images of Romulus, and everyone was speculating, oh my God, they're going to make a movie of Isolation, which, if you're a true gamer, is pointless. Play the game. Like, play the game. It's literally like playing a movie. But yeah, how does it feel to have made something that's, you know, not only come in as part of a film franchise, has then like changed the direction of a film franchise?
It's just a massive honour, really. I mean, I know I kind of need to underline there was an awful lot of people involved in this, and like some really massive creative big brains, and I certainly only played a small part in it, but I think we all have a shared feeling of pride, real big pride, because there was moments when you thought, is this going to work? And even when we released, not all the reviews liked it. But you knew you'd made something good, but like then it was only after a couple of years, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, people actually aren't stopping talking about this. Yeah. And you realise it is something of a like cult classic. And you know, so yeah, I think a lot of people are like just very, very, very proud of it. And obviously, I mean, I have nothing to do with the sequel that CA have announced that they're making, but like some of the core team are back there, and they're making something that hopefully will delight and amaze us all again. So like, you know, there is a hunger for it, and you know, who knows what's next. It's just been a really, you know, big highlight of my past decade, I guess.
What about you, Anderson?
Yeah, absolutely. God, it's iconic, and to be part of that is you know, it's on the bucket list. It will go down as one of the things I feel incredibly proud of, and was an amazing experience.
Years before I knew you, Kez, I did some work for Creative Assembly as part of an agency I was working at the time, and yeah, I've seen the image of your face all over one of the walls, and when I first met you, I was just like, I know you from somewhere. I can't place it because I didn't know you.
Well, 10 years later, I'm glad you still think there's something to recognise. No, it is cool, isn't it? Bucket list stuff. It was so fun having a little figurine. Is there a Samuels? I'm sure there must be somewhere. If there isn't, there should be.
I don't know.
Internet, do your thing. Is there a Samuels?
Is there a Samuels?
Figure?
Yeah.
No. Privilege. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was. And I still remember that first scene, the scene where he comes to find Ripley.
Me too.
It was just gorgeous.
Do you know, and I haven't got the best memory for certain things, and that has really stayed with me. Yes. I can, even now, I guess I was so invested, and I loved her, and I was so lucky to be working with you guys and the cast and Kate. I was just enjoyed it so much from an actory point of view of just being really creative and in a scene that, you know, in this franchise. I still kind of feel the emotion, funnily enough, now, just thinking about that scene, because it is the people you're working with make it, especially, I think, in a motion capture set when you haven't got everything. Everybody needs to be completely 100% in it and, you know, playing their intentions and everything. And I just had a real thrill that day. And I can see the set now. I can see where Ant's standing, which doesn't, I couldn't say that about a lot of things. So that's got to mean something, hasn't it?
Yeah. There is something very special about doing mocap for a game. You know, because we all do voice as well as the mocap, but being in the volume and performing, especially if it's performance capture as well as motion capture, it is really special in something as iconic and huge as the Alien franchise.
Funnily enough as well, then the kind of set we had being, scaffolding. And
Yes.
it kind of worked quite well for that environment.
Yeah,
It kind of
it
helped
did.
us.
Like
And the colouring of
industrial,
it. Exactly, yeah.
I can
Kind of
remember
added to
Jane
it.
Perry poised up on this sort of thing playing. She was on the bridge of.
Yes, Verlaine.
Yeah.
Brilliantly. Oh, that was...
You've streamed the game, haven't you? You've played it. What was it like? I watched quite a lot of people play it.
Yeah,
never
I
seen
played
that.
it. Yeah, my friend George Taylor, who's a huge gamer, he said, you know what, because he does Twitch and things like that, and he's got a lovely following, and he said, you know what, because it's the 10-year anniversary, I'd like to play Alien Isolation. I think we played it on Halloween, and I want you to play with me. So, because the first time I played the game, I played it with him many, many years ago when it first came out, and left to my own devices, I couldn't get out of the pods. So
Kept on going in the shower, turning it on and off.
it was a disaster. So George wisely said, look, I'll play it and you just tell me where to go.
Yeah.
So we played on his Twitch stream and it was great.
Hang on, did you remember?
Scary.
Like last year, you remembered where to go and everything?
No.
Oh,
God,
right.
no.
I was going,
No, I had no idea.
that's Samuel's, that is.
Yeah, and there was the robot things, terrifying.
Yeah.
They are.
Really terrifying.
They are.
They're almost scarier than the
They
alien.
are.
Yeah,
They're more. Yeah.
They've got really good kind of like Doctor Who-y
They
kind
do,
of vibes.
yeah, real retro vibes.
Yeah.
But it was great. I loved it. And he very, kindly steered us towards Samuel's scenes, where Samuel's. And there were scenes in it that I thought, that Samuel's was quite violent. There were scenes where he was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Bashes
thought, I don't remember that.
Bashes a synthetic up, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So that was fun. And then...
Can I watch this somewhere? Is there still somewhere to watch? Because I'd love to see this.
I don't know.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
do
there's-
some.
you
I'll
can-
do some.
I think I saw it was on X, but I'm sure you can find
Okay,
it on
I'll
other
find
places
it.
as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's called George Taylor, and I don't know what his gaming name is or his tag or whatever, but I think it's on
Okay.
Twitch, maybe.
Yeah, probably on Twitch
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
I think about like playing the game, I'm not very good at it. I haven't completed it because I got too scared. But one of my favorite things about it as like just a concept for a game is that my instinct as a gamer is always eventually I will find the weapon that allows me to beat that boss or monster or mob that you're fighting, but that never really happens in Alien. That maybe you get the flamethrower and you can spook it for a bit, but just having this idea of this all-powerful thing that A, knows where you are at some of the time, and B, you can't stand and fight it. How did that influence like your writing? Obviously you've got the franchise to fall back on, but how does that how do you make the character feel vulnerable?
Well, I mean, this is probably where I'll start sort of parroting what our great leader Al Hope at the time. We did very strict rules on what we were doing. One of them, the example of one of the rules was no object or technology should appear that they couldn't build on the set of Alien in the late 70s. That was like an artistic one. Another one was like thinking about like what would you do if all of a sudden we were sat here and there was a wild tiger or a big bear like set loose at the other end of the office. What would you do? How would you do it? How would you navigate that situation? And I guess like having that vulnerability and relying on things like distraction, hiding in a cupboard, running for the exit, or letting the bear or the big lion take out someone in the sound department. So like while you ran to the exit. No, it's stuff like that. But like you just had to like just be strict with yourself in terms of like not over empowering the player, or if when you do there are a few moments of high action, more often against synthetics, but just keep them quite sparse. And also there's a big thing when all the bits of the game are meshing and starting to sing, where just being on your own with a bit of music, with a window out over the gas giant, the lighting and the dust hanging in the air, and just literally just being on Sevastopol is an uncanny and spooky feeling. And as long as you maintain that throughout, which I think it's a very long game, I don't really think that ever goes away. And so as long as you've got that as that kind of that base level of slight, what could happen, it could be anywhere, I don't feel safe, and all of the different departments of the video and studio are all working in harmony towards that, then that's the magic trick, really.
That's cool. I mean, were there any other influences from the gaming world? One game that I always thought of when I was playing Isolation was Dead Space. Obviously, Dead Space is inspired by the original Alien, but considering Dead Space had that space, sorry, not right, considering it sort of owned that space of like horror survival kind of stuff in a sci-fi setting in the gaming world. Were there titles like that influenced the way you wanted the game to work?
Well, this is probably where someone like Al or Gary Napper, who was the design lead, when we shipped, they'd probably be better equipped. But I suppose, like anything, like you bring what you've played and what you feel passionate about to the table. I'd say that we, like, overall, I think that the designers kind of stripped back a lot of that and got back to the basics of the movie. And much as there are elements from other games, just because it's a game, there's a gun there and you can shoot it. But I think the magic trick was kind of like dialing it back and just thinking from a relatively blank slate, because there wasn't much like that had come before in that direct. I mean, even Dead Space is very action centered, and the whole thing is you're not necessarily overpowered, but you're chopping off a lot of limbs, and obviously like that alien's not getting anything chopped off it. You can't really make it dead.
You might, but
yeah.
But being part of that franchise as well and falling where it falls within the story, I suppose you have so much to go off from the films themselves, right? It was and everyone always said how filmic it was, the game.
You do, but also we were very lucky because that's right. But at the same time, as a writer and doing the world building, certainly for our department and possibly for others as well, like it was also a relatively blank space in the lore as well, because the whole thing about Alien, it is the first one. There's so much that's not known about the company. There's so much that's known about different motivations, about why they're there and what the order is, and who put Ash there and all this stuff. There's all these unanswered questions. And so it's actually, we were relatively not unrestricted, but we had a lot of creative, like not even creative freedom. We had a lot of room for maneuver, which you often don't get in a very packed timeline. These days, that timeline is a little bit more packed because obviously you've got Romulus up in the same sort of time, whatever. But obviously, everything went through Fox as it was at the time. Everything was had to be greenlit. There's a lot of back and forth. But in terms of just stuff like me coming up with a backstory for Saxon, or working out how the Joes had been made, what all the history was, and working out all the different in-game brands and all this stuff, and all the posters and things like that. It was a relatively blank slate, because no one was really thinking. These days, when you make a movie, I'm sure you think about all this stuff. In 1977, not so much. You're just making a one-off thing on one ship. It gets a novelization as well. It expanded slightly, but not loads. And so we were working in a real, exciting bit of the timeline. There were not many other sort of people had got their fingerprints on through the history of the franchise.
So going on that, then having to speak to obviously the higher ups and people have the final say. Was there? You said there was back and forth. Was there? Would you have to go with quite a few different ideas, or how collaborative?
I probably was. I wasn't there for the top level stuff, but obviously just you'd have to pass everything by. End of the day, it's not your toys, not your playroom. Do you know what I mean? So of course, people have to smile on it there, but Fox provided reams and reams of of content, and especially for the art teams, it was a real treasure trove, especially for everyone's an Alien nerd on that team, but there's some proper Alien nerds, and it was a real privilege to get to do that.
Can you tell us the story of the orange drink dispenser and how that came to influence Saxon?
Oh, this is just something I wrote. Okay, yeah. So there's something I wrote in an interview past after thing. Basically, many years ago, I was in America and I saw I was in McDonald's, and there's a thing saying, why not ask about our orange drink dispenser? And like in this massive queue, and I was thinking, what would happen in this massive queue of angry Americans if I said, excuse me, can I just ask you about your orange drink dispenser, as your sticker says? And it got me to think, and so like, and that always stuck with me. And so it struck me that like Seegson is exactly the sort of corporation that would make some ridiculous decision in some boardroom somewhere, and like would end up like all getting this completely meaningless, like no use to anybody, like corporate, sort of downwash. So they kind of like that. So that was one of the things that stuck with me in terms of like corporate thinking, and is along with experiences in working in different corporations myself, when things are slowly less human and like less useful the further down the chain of command it got. And that became one of the lines that the android says is, why not ask me about Sevastopol safety protocols? While they're chasing you, wants to kill you. So that's that link to the orange dispenser thing. I was a lot more ornate when I wrote that down. So but.
And have you had any strange or funny experiences with fans?
No.
Everyone's been very well behaved.
Yes, yeah. I did get a really nice Christmas ornament that they'd made of Samuel's.
Really?
Once.
How was it Christmassy?
What was it made of?
It was, I used it as a Christmas ornament. It was just a sort of head and shoulders thing cut out on a thing. But I put it on the Christmas tree. So
why not?
Yeah.
That's very sweet. Does anyone ever ask you to quote Samuel's?
No, I think because I'm not really huge on social media, so I'm not really out there.
Can you say, can we see it for us? Can we see it? Sorry, this was this iconic line I love.
So now you have.
Now you have,
Yeah.
Remind me, when's that?
When just when you come in interview of in Sevastopol, someone says, "Is that damage?" And then you go, "Can we see it?" And they punch it up on the screen.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I've watched it so many times, so like it just becomes like part of my inner vocabulary.
I remember when I went to get my ears scanned. This was quite
Your
late
ears
on.
scanned?
My
for the
ears
game.
scanned for the game.
I thought you just meant in
This
general.
No, haven't even got them pierced. Nobody wants these ears. But I went to have them scanned in Sheffield, and this was a year or something after the facial scans and everything. And it's so because they've been with your face, haven't they? For all the guys in the team there, they'd been looking at my face for like a year, and so they have this. You kind of see this look in their eye, very nice, but they're like they know you. They've seen you every day. And we did have a chat about it, and they were like, "Yeah, we've looked at your face every day, and now they're going to look at my ears in detail." But it's fascinating because you've been living with this game. I sometimes forget how everybody's been with this for so long, either when we come on it or during the process and at the very end, especially the writing side, and then also the likeness thing sometimes blows my mind.
To briefly drag things back to Project Zomboid. This is a question. This is a question that I haven't prepared, but it's something I usually ask people whenever the topic of zombies comes up at the pub or whatever. What would be your zombie weapon? So we're sat here, we're in a recording studio, klaxon goes off, there's been a zombie invasion, what do we do? You're not going to grab a gun or like a sword and shield, something that you're likely to find in an office environment or in perhaps a recording studio. What would you grab as your weapon of choice?
I'd fend them off. I don't think I'd be able to actually incapacitate them, so I'd grab a chair with the 4 prongs and I'd use that to keep them away from me.
Nice, like Baz Rutten for UFC fans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, just like that.
He did a series of self-defense videos where he's talking basically about how to murder people at a bar. It's brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Well, clearly, we share an opinion.
There you go. Cheers. Okay. And what about you?
I don't know. I'm just looking around. I mean, these would be quite useful. I think if you could prise them off the table.
Well, I think Samuel's because she uses fists.
Yeah.
You have to go into Samuel's mode.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Kez?
Well, I was initially going to say I'd get on the ladder and I'd get up high to avoid, but that's not really a weapon, is it? That's just avoiding. So what I do...
But it's smart.
But you still got the Amanda Ripley instincts of like run and hide
Run
at
away.
first.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Or I'd use the flash on the camera maybe, to like, maybe that would... I'd try it and trial
Depends
and
what
error.
kind of zombies
maybe.
we're fighting.
Well, maybe they'd like heads explode if there's a flash in there.
Sure.
That's a big risk to be taken.
That's a big risk.
Okay, I'm failing
You've bet a
miserably.
lot on
Go on,
that.
Tom. What would you do?
Well, mine's always a hammer.
There's no hammers here.
There's a storage room there.
Oh, you didn't tell us that.
Well, all right, fine.
Yeah, there's a chainsaw in there as well.
No, the hammer's like a relatively everyday item.
Flamethrower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm not allowed to say hammer. I think I might have to go with chair or stool. I think I'm going to agree with you. Keep them fended away long enough. Yeah.
Okay, I'll join you as well.
I'll just hide behind you both.
And you'll be up there.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, you three would be my weapons.
Just kick one off in the shin and then run. So what would be your guys' desert island game if you can only play one game for the rest of your life and you're not allowed to say in isolation?
That's a good question. I think. Am I allowed to take something like World of Warcraft? Which,
Sure. Let's assume there's an internet connection on your desert island.
As long as it's just not me running around an empty server, I'd probably take World of Warcraft because I can
Nice.
I can live a life without living a life.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of old school. I'd take something like Pac-Man. Or something
Nice.
like that.
Classic.
It's all right. It's
Retro.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. What about you, Kez?
Well, you know mine. This is the only, and one of the things, I'm trying to do on this is try to play games because we've had some brilliant people on and I'm like, okay, I should play this game. It sounds amazing. Because again, with Alien Isolation, I was novice level, which is below easy, right? If I remember. And I was struggling and my partner, to get out of, I think we got out of the pods. Maybe. And then we got stuck in the building to try. We had the ship come past, I remember, but then we've been stuck there for ages. My second one would be Brain Academy.
Cool.
Because I've got a Switch. But it's going to be Tetris. It's always going to be Tetris, I think. Tetris is yet to be beaten.
Another retro game. It's good. Good choice there. No wrong answers. Very cool. For me, oh God, I hadn't even thought about it. At the moment, it's going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Oh, okay. Good
Game of the
choice.
year.
Interesting.
Game of the year. Big statement.
Wow.
I should have said Project Zomboid, shouldn't I?
No, it's
Sorry.
fine.
I'll do it again.
That's a good
It's
game
Project
too.
Zomboid.
There we
Well,
go.
there you go.
Game of the year?
It's game of the last 10 years.
Game of the last 10 years, yeah. So,
Okay.
Game of the decade.
Game of the decade. Here we go.
Well, guys, thanks so much for coming down and spending some time with us. It's been amazing to hear about your experiences in making of Alien Isolation.
A special treat for me, I must say. It's been lovely to revisit it with two of these
Yeah, for
excellent
us too.
humans.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
It's been
Thank
lovely
you so
to get the
much.
gang together.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all from us. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you on the next one.